Welcome to Dairy Delivery by the Dairy Star. On today's episode, we start with a conversation from Ron Snodgrass. He suffered a double brain aneurysm last December, and with the help of his wife and his parents, continued the operation of their 120 cow herd at Valley View Dairy. Next, we talk with Adam Scapanski, who was living out his dream, starting his own herd after his father passed away. Next, we hear from Jason Spargrove in Boscobel, Wisconsin. Jason farms with his twin brother Justin, and is also the owner of Utter Brothers Creamery. And we close today's episode with Kay Siebert, whose love of gardening continues to shine through with flowers and produce while working on the family farm. You're listening to Dairy Delivery. All dairy, all the time. Today's episode is sponsored by DRMS. This episode of Dairy Delivery is brought to you by Herd HQ, your dairy decision platform from DRMS. Built on trusted, standardized DRMS data from either your most recent test day or Dart Sync backup, Herd HQ delivers fast, visual insights that help producers and consultants make more informed decisions with confidence. Whether you're evaluating herd trends, fine-tuning performance, or spotting bottlenecks before they become problems, Herd HQ, together with DRMS and your local DHIA service affiliate, makes it easier to uncover opportunities and act on what matters most. It's accessible anytime, on any device. Herd HQ. See what's happening in your herd. Learn more at drms.org/herdhq/what-is-herdhq or visit the link in the description of today's podcast. I'm Dan Walker.
And I'm Michelle Stengler, and we're your reporters with Dairy Star, bringing you the latest in the dairy industry, including hearing from farmers across the Midwest and beyond. Well, it's almost Halloween, Dan. I can't believe we are into these last few months of 2025. Got any fun Halloween memories?
Yeah, I'd say obviously growing up on the farm, you always had to try to manage your time if you were going to be able to go out during chores or after chores, or obviously if you're going out during chores, you got to have your stuff done on time and kind of manage it that way. I know with having three older siblings, we would always load up our big full-size van and kind of take us around town to different places we knew we wanted to see us and see the kids and see the family. And then a couple of years, I was lucky enough that I got to get my chores done early enough so that I could go in and go trick-or-treating with my friends in town. So there's a lot of fun different events and memories like that. What about you?
Yeah, certainly trick-or-treating was always fun. But my sisters and I always carved pumpkins every year, and we still try to here and there. This year we have, and it's always a special memory. But I remember growing up on the farm, of course, it'd be stuck between that two milking times, and my parents would come see and say how good of a job we did. And so just always those fun things to do. And then getting back to chores. So yeah, a lot of fun memories. Definitely fun to get outside and hopefully for good weather. Definitely a lot of sun these past few weeks. So hopefully that'll transition into Halloween too.
Let's hope that sticks a little bit, because obviously the stereotype you always get with the Midwest is having to put your Halloween costume on over your snow pants and stuff. And we had to do that with my son a couple of years ago, and it was a little funny getting pictures of him after trick or treating, and he's covered in snow and does not look happy because he is cold and it was wet, and it was a fun time. One we'll definitely remember.
Yeah. Oh, how cute. Also, what's happening, of course, is harvest is wrapping up across the Midwest. Of course, due to the federal government shutdown, there is no official USDA crop reports, but some private surveys are estimating corn harvest over that 60% and soybeans over 70% complete nationwide. So I know as I drive around across southern Wisconsin, there's not a lot of corn or soybeans left. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, I'd say we could see some kind of around the state, some that are still standing, but yeah, a lot of it has definitely been taken off, and it's good to see that people have been able to get in the field and get things taken care of how they want to.
Yeah, I think there was only some rain showers. So of course, depending on your area, it depends. And been hearing a lot of good things. But if you ever have any stories, listeners, feel free to reach out to us. We're always open to hearing them. So a lot of conversations happening across harvest season, though, here found in the Dairy Star.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of those. And let's get into today's episode and hear some of those conversations.
Well, Dan, our first interview today takes us to Oregon, Illinois. Our Southwest Wisconsin reporter, Stacy Smart, talked to Ron Snodgrass. Ron and his family installed two DILA valve robots about 2 years ago, and last December he suffered a double brain aneurysm. Let's hear from Ron about how he and his family handled the farm through that challenging time.
Ron, your family put in robots 2 years ago to milk your all Jersey herd, and you said those robots really came in handy last December when you had a health scare. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so our family did put in robots 2 years ago this October. Everything was going very smoothly and working well. And then last December, I actually fell ill with a double brain aneurysm and a brain bleed. And I woke up in the morning and I threw up and I didn't really know why. And I just kind of thought I had the flu. I had the chills. I was hot and cold. And I just kind of went back and forth in bed all day. But then when my wife came in that night from chores, she said we better, and I agreed completely that we needed to go somewhere because things were not getting better. So we ended up going to a hospital, our local hospital, and they did some diagnostic work there. And then they decided that they weren't going to be able to help me there. So they sent me on to a much bigger, better facility where they were able to determine what I needed to do and go from there.
And what was the surgery like that you had to endure?
Well, I was really honestly pretty much out of it, but I do remember, laying in this big operating suite, and I was like on this air hockey table, and they were sliding me from one machine into the other where they could see my head and my brain and figure out where their instruments were going. They went in through my groin and then around my heart and then up into my head, and they said if they found where the leak was at, then they were going to put me to sleep and stop the leaking. So I do remember them saying, "Oh, we found it, knock him out." So it was lights out.
Wow.
uh, yeah, it was about a 6 hour surgery. I mean, I first surgery I'd ever been through and never done anything like that. It was all a new experience, but it went very well. I mean, I was very lucky, so I don't really have anything to complain about.
Well, I am so happy to hear that. And tell me what things were like back at the farm. Who was taking care of everything in your absence?
So back at the farm, my wife, bless her heart, she was able to take off work with her FMLA time. So she ran the farm along with my parents, and she took care of all the day-to-day stuff. Luckily, this was like the 15th of December when this happened. So a lot of my employees were getting ready to go on Christmas break from high school and college. So we had a lot of good employees that knew everything that needed to be done along with my wife, and they all worked together very well. And we got through it with all of our help and my wife and the company, the Shrine Group that put in our robots. They were very willing and able to work with my wife and keep everything running smoothly. And that's the main thing. When you have a herd of dairy cows, they come first. There is nothing else that comes before that. So that was our main focus.
And your dad said that you kind of set up like a little office right in the hospital and tried to keep things running from there. What was that like?
I did, yeah. They brought me in paperwork whenever they'd come to see me if there was something I needed to keep up on. I mean, I merchandise all the grain on our operation, so I was, calling and merchandising grain and stuff as it needed to be done. And yeah, I could walk my wife over the phone through things on the computer, like to set up a new cow in the system and the robot system, and just try to do as much as I could on my end, because I felt really bad that I wasn't there to help, because it's not who I am.
Right, you can't keep a good farmer down.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So.
And so your jerseys really took to the robots quickly, did they not? And not only that, they're thriving on them, right?
Yeah, they did really well. We were very impressed with how well they did. When we put them in, they said the organization, the Shrine Group that put them in, said that we would need 24-hour people there for 7 days to keep these cows going through the robots. But the first day, yes, we were there. I don't even think it was 24 hours. It might have been a good 12 hours. Then you get everybody through there and you walk away, and eventually some of them pick up on it on their own. But by day 4, we really didn't need any extra staff at the farm anymore. They were doing it on their own. They had figured it all out. And I mean, we still to this day have a few fetch cows morning and night, but it's really not too bad at all. They're killing it. We were just very impressed with how well they acclimated to that whole system.
Well, that's incredible. And so you mentioned the Shrine Group that put them in. This was their first time installing robots for an all Jersey herd, right?
It was, yeah. So they have a few other herds that they work with that are mixed colors, or Holstein and colored mixed together. But we are their only all Jersey herd, and they were not used to that. They were not used to cows being so curious, and just Jerseys are a little different. So it was very eye opening to all of them as well.
I bet. It was kind of a fun experience.
Yeah.
Going back to the aneurysms, Ron, how quick did you recover from all of that and your hospital stay and were able to finally get back to your duties on the farm?
Well, um, so immediately when I got out of surgery and met with the doctor and everything and figured out what happened and what was going on, they said basically you're gonna be here for 21 days regardless, because there is a medication that you have to stay on to help with the blood vessels in your brain to heal. So and they really want to monitor that because some people don't make it through the hospitalization. So that's why they said 21 days. But I was very antsy. I got up and moved a lot. They said the more you move, the faster the blood will get off of your brain and the less pain you will have, because the headache that comes along with all that is something like nobody can ever describe. It is incredibly awful. But yeah, we got through all of that and I walked a lot. I just kept moving as much as I could, because if you just lay there and sit, then that's what your body's going to want to do. So I was out on day 13. They're like, you can go home. There is no reason to keep you here. You're doing really well. So I came home on a Saturday night, and by the next Sunday night, I was back out in the barn, just walking around, doing very minimal things, but at least just being there and laying my eyes on things and helping wherever I could. So it was could have been a lot worse, and we made the best of it.
That is truly amazing. And
Yeah.
so you were one of the lucky ones because the odds of making a complete recovery from an aneurysm are low, correct?
Yeah. The doctor said that a third of the people don't make it to the hospital. And from those, a third of the people don't make it through the hospitalization. And then out of those, one third of those people leave the hospital and go back into life. But out of those people, one third of those are kind of like a vegetable, and another third are, handicapped or, not correct. But the last third are unscathed, or they make it all the way through and don't have any issues. So I am incredibly lucky. I feel like I have a new lease on life. I've changed some life habits. So all for the better. And no, we're moving forward. My wife and I started attending church regularly, and that has been a really nice addition in our life, I feel.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you've been given a second chance at life?
Well, I don't know if it's a second chance, but it really makes you aware that life is precious, and at any moment it can be taken away from you. So you've got to make the most of every second.
What if your test day data could help reduce antibiotics and guide dry off decisions? In this real case study example, a 2,100 cow Midwest herd used Herd HQ's Decisive Dry tool to support selective dry cow therapy. In just 1 month, they identified 112 cows that didn't need treatment, cutting antibiotic use by 78% and saving over $2,500 in treatment and labor. That's more than $30,000 projected annually. Talk to DRMS or your local DHIA affiliate to start using Herd HQ and act on what matters most. Read all about Ron's story under the headline, A Walking Miracle, on dairystar.com. Next, we go to Sauk Rapids, Minnesota. Tiffany Klophocky, one of our Minnesota reporters, sat down with Adam Scapanski. Adam knew since his freshman year in high school that he wanted his own farm, but when his dad passed away, his future was uncertain. Now he's milking cows on his own as he continues to shape his future.
So just tell me what it's been like starting up milking cows here again on your own.
It's been great. I started here in 2024, November 4th. Before that, I went to college for a few years, worked with a guy that was renting the barn here for my mom. He found his own place to buy, and so then I decided I wanted to come back and milk full-time here at home. It's been great so far.
What have been some of the successes and challenges?
The biggest challenge I guess I've had so far over the last year would be a little bit of stray voltage and high cow prices to buy to finish filling the barn. And then some of the success that I've had over the last year, I'd say the biggest thing would be the sex semen that I've been using. It's really shown in the last 3 months from my first breedings that we've been having all heifers and a really good conception rate.
Have you always known that you wanted to take over the home farm?
Since I was little, being out here with my dad or whatever, I just really loved it. And being really involved in the Holstein Association and actually showing cattle just made my passion that much greater. We always showed dairy cattle, taking them down to State Fair and everything. And probably the biggest thing, too, that really made me really realize I wanted to come back, it was my freshman year in high school. I milked cows for an uncle for a summer there, and I did it every day, and I just loved it, and I just knew that's what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do it on my own.
So tell me about your farm here. What's the setup and how many cows do you milk?
So right now I milk 30 cows in a step-up 8 parlor with a free stall with sand bedding. There's 58 stalls in the one barn, and then there's 35 in the other barn. Right now I just have it full to 30 with the high cow prices, hoping to at least get up to 60 in the next year or two. Mainly trying to breed everything sex semen and grow within, just with the high cow prices.
So you mentioned you do some custom bale wrapping on the side as well. How did that start?
So I was helping out a farmer during high school and everything. I still help him now. And he had a guy come in, custom bale wrapping. And he always kept giving me a hard time that I should buy my own wrapper to do this side of the river. And then I took it up on him. And so I started doing that. In 2022, I started bale wrapping and used it to kind of supplement income, being I wasn't milking yet and just kind of doing a bunch of custom work. Then I used that money that I kind of made from the bale wrapping to start slowly buying cows with and had the guy that was renting the barn right now, or renting the barn then, milk them and just slowly grow my herd that way. And even now I kind of use the bale wrapping as supplement income just with the high cow prices and a little bit lower milk price right now. I mean, we always raised heifers back in 2009, February 2010 actually. We sold most of our milk cows because my dad had cancer. And then me and my sister still raised heifers here. And we kind of did that all the way through, well, she went to college and then I kind of raised them through high school. And we kept kind of calving them out, but we'd sell some of them then when they calved and keep the heifers back. And then when the guys started renting the barn here at home, we just calve them out and keep milking them and growing the herd that way a little bit. So when it was time when I decided to come back, that I already have a herd started somewhat.
Too much data and still no clear answers? In this real case study example, a 3,300 cow Midwest herd turned information overload into action with Herd HQ. Even with strong nutrition, they didn't realize production and components were lagging or how they compared to their peers. With Milk Metrics and Dairy Depot, they flagged short dry periods and fresh cow issues. One change, improving peak milk, added $135 per cow or $445,000 across the herd. Talk to DRMS or your local DHIA affiliate to start using Herd HQ and act on what matters most.
Catch up on Adam's story under the headline Back Up and Running on dairystar.com. Our next story takes us to the banks of the Wisconsin River in Boscobel, Wisconsin, and if I must say, it's a beautiful part of the state, especially now with fall colors. Dan had the chance to talk to the owner of Utter Brothers Creamery, Jason Spargrove. Jason, who farms alongside his twin brother, Justin, also operate Utter Brothers Creamery, a restaurant right off of Highway 61.
Jason, you guys started Utter Brothers Creamery here in Boscobel. Can you tell me a little bit of the origin of your store?
Yeah, so when we started, So we started farming in 2008. Me and my twin brother, Justin, bought a farm, or rented a farm north of town here, milked 42 cows. And then in 2010, we bought our farm. We were there for a few years. Everything was okay. In 2017, we started the store and trying to figure out ways to bring more income in, help pay bills. We've always had off-farm jobs. We've always done other things. Our wives have always had full-time jobs. So we wanted to come up with a way. There was no ice cream shop in Boscobel. So we started doing some research and talking to different places. WW Homestead out of Waukon, Iowa has been a big help for us. They were kind of helped us a lot getting started originally. So our original store, we had hand-dipped ice cream, frozen meats, eggs, cheeses, that kind of stuff, a few basic sandwiches that we did. So we started there in 2017, May of 17. It was a month after my son was born, so that's why I always remember it. We started in 17 there, and then we were there till 6 years. And then 3 years ago, this December is when we'll be here in the new store. And the old Dairy Queen was a Dairy Queen we bought and moved here, be 3 years ago this December.
So you started milking cows on your own in 2008, but that's not your first experience in dairy. You grew up in dairy as well.
True. Right? Yeah, when we were growing up, my dad was a herdsman on many different dairies. So we moved around a lot as kids, working on different dairy farms, and then in say the '90s, early '90s, they moved to a farm just actually only about where the crow flies, about 6 miles from our farm, where we are currently now. They were there till the late '90s, and then milk prices and the farming economy what it is, they were forced to sell the farm. So we moved to town after that, and then after high school, I joined the military, went in the service and did the Navy Seabees. I was there for 5 years, and then my twin brother at the same time went to Loris College in Dubuque, played football, and went to college down there for 5 years and got his degree down there. So 2008, I was still in the Navy, and we did bought the cows from a guy that Justin had worked for in the summers when he was home from college. It was a couple of our buddies, dad and mom, he wanted to sell his cows. He had gotten pancreatic cancer. So we bought his cows and left everything there, made this transition pretty smooth. But I still remember faxing all the paperwork back and forth from Virginia when I was doing the paperwork for the FSA.
So you started at 40 cows. What does your farm look like now? And because you're still farming with your brother, right?
Yep, still farming. We're still partners on the farm. We milk right now right around 100 cows. We have a beef operation too. We started a few years ago. We got about 30 beef cows. We're hoping to keep growing that beef side of it. We got a few sheep. My kids like the sheep, so we got about 20 sheep. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of the dairy, the farm side for animal wise. This year we're custom raising some heifers for another guy. We had quite a bit of feed on hand. So we're raising them for the summer. They'll go back in December, but we're feeding about 60 head of heifers for a guy from a bigger dairy in Iowa. Since we had some extra feed and space to feed them, so we got into that this year. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of the farming side for now. Yep.
So you're not processing it in the store yet, but there is a way to get your cow's milk in your store through the cheese you're selling, right?
True. So we ship our milk to Meister's in Muscadet. We are part of Scenic Central Milk Co-op. So our milk all goes to Meister's. So we carry all the Meister's cheese, and then even the cheese on our sandwiches in the restaurant side of it, we get 5-pound blocks from Meister's and we slice it ourselves. So we're using all that cheese on the sandwiches that we have here every day. But no, our goal eventually is to build a processing plant, but given the cost of a processing facility and where we are located, I'm a little hesitant on that. Maybe down the road we will look into that more.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But you said with your little bit of a beef operation, you're using your beef patties through Driftless Area Direct Beef as well?
Yep. So we partner with my wife's aunt and uncle. Driftless Area Direct Beef is their business. They have beef. So we sell his beef in the store.
What's their most rewarding part of doing both farming and having the store right downtown Boscoville?
You know, the joys of being self-employed. You know, I've worked for a lot of people over the years, and there's always nothing I like. You know, if you have something you need to get done, it's on you to get it done. You have to be pretty, self-motivating kind of a person. It's really rewarding, having our kids, like now our 2-year-old is jumping around on the table next to us. So having our kids with us all the time, either out on the farm with us or here at the store with us when they're not in school. We enjoy having them there.
Yeah. Yep. So if someone's coming here for the first time, what's the one item on the menu you would recommend people?
Number one best seller that we have is the single bacon cheeseburger. Our number 2 is a sandwich called the Dirty Farmer, which is barbecue pork on a grilled cheese. That one's really popular. And then another thing that people like here, it's called our condiment cow. So it's a condiment dispenser shaped as a cow. So you can squeeze the udders and the ketchup comes out. So that's been a big hit since we moved here. Yeah.
That's awesome. Find out more about Jason's history with Utter Brothers Creamery and his own farm under the headline Cruise to the Creamery on dairystar.com. Our story today has us heading to Lake City, Minnesota. Minnesota reporter Amy Kylo sat down with Amy Seward of Hyde Park Holsteins. Kay talked about how her corner of the garden at her parents' started with pansies and how that has transformed into flowers of all varieties now at her own farm.
So tell me a little bit about you have a background in gardening. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in gardening.
I have been gardening since I was probably 2 years old. I started gardening with my mom, and she gave me a little plot in the backyard for me to plant my pansies, and I have been gardening ever since.
Oh, that's awesome. So you said you've always liked gardening. Tell me a little bit about what gardens can be found out here on the farm for you.
I have a big vegetable garden because that is practical. And then I have lots of flower gardens, probably 5 or 6 flower gardens, and that's what I have fun with.
Sure. What are you growing? I know that you grow a little bit of everything probably, but what are you kind of growing in the vegetable side, and then a little bit of maybe a few of the favorites on the flower side?
For vegetables, I like to grow a big variety, so I have things from early spring until late fall. So starting with lettuce, onions, broccoli, cauliflower, tomatoes, green beans, zucchini, and then ending up with squash and the pumpkins in the fall. For flowers, my focus is cut flowers, so I really like to have cut flowers from early spring until late fall. So starting with the tulips and daffodils, moving on to peonies, lilies, hydrangeas, and dahlias have been a new addition for me. Snapdragons and some annuals also. I grow mostly perennials for flowers and then a few annuals also.
Sure. So you talked about cut flowers. Obviously, I'm sure you enjoy having bouquets in your own home. Is there other ways you also use your bouquets?
My focus for cut flowers is to always have flowers for church. I do one large arrangement for the altar, 2 medium-sized arrangements that we'll have on the side. So every week I try to have cut flowers for church. So that's my focus, just as a way to give back to the church, to say thank you to God, and to just share the flowers with others.
I love that. I love that. And tell me just a little bit about your farm and how you're involved in it.
We milk about 700 registered Holstein cows, and I help with the baby calves. I feed calves in the evening. So we're feeding about 150 to 180 calves.
Wow.
At a time.
That must keep you busy.
We have teamwork.
Yeah.
Our youngest son likes to help with the calves. My husband helps with the calves. His dad also helps. So it's teamwork.
Absolutely. And so then tell me a little bit, obviously you've got lots of gardens you have. Tell me a little bit about why you enjoy it and why you do it.
I enjoy working in the dirt. I enjoy working outside. Just being outside, being in nature, that's my focus, I guess.
Absolutely. Is this something that's more that you do by yourself? Or is this something the whole family's part of on the gardening side? Or tell me about that.
My husband always helps with manuring the garden in the fall, and he will usually till the garden in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the gardening is my thing. And when the kids were young, when they were outside playing, that gave me something to do, and I would be out there with them. They would play in the sandbox. I could work in the garden. As they got older, if I wanted to have my own space, I could always go to the garden, because they knew if they came to the garden, they would be asked to weed or to help till. So they would tend to go with Dad to the farm, and the gardening has been my thing. The boys have not been involved with that.
Sure. Tell me a little bit about, obviously you talked about the cut flowers, using them. How about, the produce? How are you kind of utilizing the produce? How do you, store it and such for using?
I like to can.
Mm-hmm.
So I can a lot. Tomatoes, lots of jams, jellies, applesauce, all the fruits, pears and peaches, apricots. So I can a lot. I also freeze a lot. And then there's always extra produce. So give extra produce to neighbors, share with employees that work at the farm. So there's always plenty of produce to go around.
Catch up on Kay's gardening journey under the headline "It Started with Pansies" on dairystar.com. We'd like to thank today's sponsor, Herd HQ, the dairy decision platform from DRMS. Herd HQ has all the tools you need to optimize your herd's performance, and it's accessible anytime on any device.
Learn more at drms.org/herdhq/what-is-herdhq. And that link will be in the description of today's podcast. Herd HQ. See what's happening in your herd. In the latest issue of the Dairy Star, you can find even more stories. One such story includes a barn fire in Utica, Minnesota. Henry Yoder was about to pass his milk house on his way to do chores when he saw an orange reflection, that orange reflection being a fire. Yoder talks about the event, rebuilding, and bringing back the herd to the farm just 3 weeks later.
Well, Dan, of course, we've heard of Oktoberfest being Wisconsinites, but what about Goattoberfest? Jason and Heidi Benson milk about 60 goats on their farm, but connecting with consumers has been part of their business model. This year, they hosted a farm-to-table dinner featuring goat cheese made by LeClaire Creamery, the same creamery that Bensons ship their milk to.
Michelle, you also had the chance to talk with Emma Voss. Emma's a recent graduate from UW-Madison with degrees in agricultural and applied economics and agricultural business management. She spent the summer traveling to shows and networking to move into the next chapter of her life. But after a four-wheeling accident injured her father, her plans shifted, and she has stepped up to help out at her family farm, Proud Heritage Jerseys.
Well, this issue tackles a lot of farmers' favorite toys. We're talking about their tractors. On this issue's Our Side of the Fence features farmers from around a readership area of what their favorite machines were and why they were special to them. Find more stories in next week's Dairy Star newspaper, then come back to the Dairy Delivery on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to podcasts to hear more of those stories. Make sure to rate and subscribe, and if you or someone you know is interested in being featured in the Dairy Star or on Dairy Delivery, reach out at dairydelivery@dairystar.com so we can continue sharing all dairy all the time.